Sachs, why don't you lead us off with your biggest winner of 2022 for business?
I said Lockheed Martin along with other defense stocks. Lockheed Martin, which makes javelins and HIMARS, is up 40% in the past year when most of the market's been way down. Northrop Grumman's also up almost 40%. And even some of the lesser performers like Raytheon and General Dynamics are up about almost 20% in a terrible market environment. The fact of the matter is war is terrible, but it appears to be good business. We've sent so many weapons to Ukraine that there's recent press reports that the U.S. stockpiles of missiles, javelins, and stingers are now depleted. So these companies are going to keep doing well for the next year at least. Now there's a new appropriation sailing through, something like $44 billion of new funding for the war. It's now over $100 billion. McConnell says this is a Republicans' number one priority. This is now a bipartisan concern. And if you think the war is expensive, just wait for Reconstruction. That's estimated to cost roughly $1 trillion to build Ukraine back.
Sachs, can I ask you a question about that? Are these, when we fund these wars, I've heard different versions of this, can't get a clear answer. When we provide weapons and systems like this, are they not on account and we ask for money back at some point? Do you know the answer to that question?
You think we're going to get money back? Are you kidding me?
It seems to be sometimes that we do, so that's why I was asking. I think it's something there hasn't been clarity on.
Look, I think the war has been phenomenal business for the military-industrial complex. So that's what we're seeing here. Not so great for the rest of the economy.
Freeberg, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys will remember last November, I predicted energy and defense to be the best performing stocks for this year. Sachs is right. I think defense is up 40%. So I kind of went with the bigger oil and gas companies are up, across the board about 47% in terms of equity value in the public markets year to date, compared to the S&P being down about 20%. So over the short term, I would argue oil and gas companies, but I think that over the long term, there were a couple of big breakthrough moments that I would give kind of, the winner in business that will benefit over the long term to OpenAI and to Fusion startups. And we'll talk more about why for those two, obviously later when we get to the biggest winner in tech and science. But yeah, short-term oil and gas, they benefited from the supply constraints and the conflict in the Ukraine. And then longer term, I think OpenAI and Fusion startups.
Well, and by the way, I mean, just to give Freeberg some credit here, you actually predicted the war, or you predicted a war. I don't know if you predicted this war, but you predicted war in 2022.
That's why I predicted. I predicted the war and Putin kind of rising to the center stage and the defense and energy.
The dog.
That was a huge prediction because I don't think most people, even most analysts, well, they were surprised even when the invasion happened. I think people were still very surprised both that Putin would order it, but also if you study the situation, I think you got to be surprised that we didn't negotiate harder to try and prevent it.
I traded it too. I bought an energy ETF, so it worked out for me.
Okay. Chamath, your biggest business winner of 2022.
Nick can throw it up, but it's basically any single person that understands the following formula. So this is the
this is so good.
This is the capital asset pricing model. So what is this? This is like before you make any investment, what it actually tells you is here's the rate of return that you need to generate above the risk-free rate in order for you to justify making that investment. And if you really understood the capital asset pricing model going into 2022, it would have been difficult for you to not make money. Because all of a sudden, as the 10-year flexed up and as the volatility, particularly of things like tech stocks, went crazy, you could have figured out where to park your money. And all these people that have built businesses around this capital asset pricing model, so you have companies, obviously, so you have sectors of the economy like defense or energy stocks, consumer goods and staples. They all had moments where they all did well. But if you take it one step above, the organizations that actually ran big macro books or really understood how to algorithmically implement this capital asset pricing model just ran roughshod over the markets. And, said in a different way, it's sort of my background, which is, if you understood the capital asset pricing model, you would have been a massive bear. And the bear got fed this year to a degree that none of us could have anticipated.
Okay. So am I correct saying the capital asset pricing model is the biggest winner?
Or no, people that understood it.
People that understood it. Got it. Okay. And for my biggest winner, I went with ChatGPT / OpenAI and their partner, Microsoft. Why did I pick that as the biggest winner? Well, on my other podcast, This Week in Startups, we played a game, ChatGPT versus the first result of Google's, and Molly and I could not tell the difference. And in fact, we picked ChatGPT's answers often above Google's. Google, one of the greatest businesses and franchises ever created, has no answer currently for ChatGPT because Google's business model is to get you to click on an ad between links. If you give the actual answer, then the person stops clicking. If they stop clicking, Google stops making money. There is no business model in search if the person gets their answer because they're done. This is an existential threat like we have not seen, and our friend Sam Altman has aligned ChatGPT/OpenAI with Microsoft. Microsoft, I think, is going to release and there's a prediction as well, a search engine with OpenAI that has a significant impact on Google's franchise. We didn't think this would ever happen, and it's here.